Am I the jerk for charging bachelorette party guests only for activities they attended? My sister, Sarah, who is 34 years old, and I, who am 38 years old, are the matrons of honor for our other sister, Kelly, who is 37 years old. We recently planned her bachelorette party. Kelly lives in a big city in Washington, but decided to have her bachelorette party in Boston, which is the nearest big city to our hometown, where Sarah and I still live. The planning process was rough. Kelly's friends from Washington continually tried to insert themselves into the planning process. One girl even went so far as to send us an entire slide deck with the party completely outlined from activities to decor and extras. Later, this girl even booked an event that was in direct conflict with one of the events we had already booked without asking us. Despite this level of intervening, these friends never once mentioned the budget and were continually suggesting unnecessary extras. The party arrived and everyone had a great time, but things took a turn when the bill arrived. We had a few large items that needed to be settled up after the fact, the Airbnb and a limo ride. For each item, I divided its cost by the number of people that attended it, minus the bride, and then gave each girl a total based on the events she attended. If someone did not sleep at the Airbnb but did come to the limo ride, her bill would only be for her share of the limo ride. When the girls from Washington received this bill, they were not pleased. They believe that I should split the cost of all items evenly across all people who attended any event during the Bachelorette, regardless if they attended that particular event or if there was even room for them at that particular event. They believe this is even more justified because it reduces their bill, and they had already incurred significant costs for flights. They had also assumed that everyone in the group would be attending all events, even though that was never discussed and makes zero sense, since if everyone slept at the Airbnb and did the limo ride, we would have been over capacity in both cases and needed to upgrade to a more expensive option. They also believe that as the matrons of honor, we should incur additional costs as part of our matron of honor duties. They have sent me an amount of money using their methodology based on total estimates they came up with for the costs of these items, not the actual receipts. They are also not paying Sarah for the cost of their food at the Airbnb, believing it should be part of the additional costs that we incur as the matrons of honor. Should I have split costs across anyone who attended any event and taken on additional costs? Am I the asshole? Everyone sucks here because it was actually dumb of everyone not to agree on how to pay before the money was spent. There should be no ambiguity about major items like lodging and transportation. Those things were known by the planners, you and your sister, prior to the event. As for the friends, it's also too late for them to be tallying things up and arguing over costs. At this point, they need to pay and move on. Am I the jerk for leaving my parent on their birthday because they wouldn't stop talking about my half-siblings? My mom turned 60 last week and I took her out to dinner to celebrate. It was her, me, a 21-year-old female, my girlfriend, a 22-year-old female, and my mom's best friend. I also spent most of that day with her, and we went shopping. During dinner, she talked about how my half-siblings should have come. I told her she had the option to invite them if she wanted them there, but I could not and would not make contact with them. I could not make contact because I have no contact information for them, and we are not connected on social media. I would not make contact because they have been very clear they want no contact with me. To explain why, my mom was happily married to my half-sibling's dad, and they were a happy family. Then he died. My half-siblings were 12 years old and younger at the time. Mom ended up in a cycle of quick marriages that ended just as fast, and almost 5 years later, I was born from one of the failed marriages. My half-siblings did not see me as a sibling or as a member of their family. They have always viewed me as an accident, as someone who should never have existed. They did not want me to exist. They did not want another reminder that their dad was gone and mom was throwing herself at all kinds of men. They wanted a neater family, where all the siblings had the same two parents. Me sharing only mom was less neat. It was more complicated. I did not have much to do with the oldest. He stopped coming around once the other two moved out of the house, but before that he would come and ignore me. I got used to it. The other two were close to each other, and because of the age gap, I was the outsider. It was rough being on the outside when I was small. Mom was never very stable or steady. According to mom's best friend, the death of her husband was always going to be the death of the woman and mom she was. She loved him, and she never found love or happiness after him. Each new husband was a distraction at best. The contact with my half-siblings lessened so much over time. They are not very close to mom either, but they check in on her from time to time. They speak to her occasionally. They send cards and gifts for birthdays and Christmas, for her though, not for me. I attempted to make contact when I moved out by sending a follow request on social media, but they never accepted. That was it. So back to the birthday dinner. I had told mom ahead of time if she wanted my half-siblings there, she would need to invite them herself. She did not. Then during dinner she kept saying how I should reach out, how we should be close, how I should have invited them and all kinds of stuff like that. I told her they wanted nothing to do with me and asked if she could please drop it. She kept pushing, especially on the topic of my relationship with them. We all tried to change the subject. When she would not let it go, my girlfriend and I left early without finishing because I was done. My mom was crying down the phone to me the next day and the day after that, asking how I could leave her. Am I the asshole? You behaved properly. She repeatedly harassed you when told not to and pressured you to connect with your half-siblings who have made it clear they don't want that. Instead of respecting your wishes, she made it about something else and tried to guilt-trip you. It's time to set some boundaries and not let her make you feel responsible for her mistakes. Am I the jerk for reminding someone that they are a loser at a friend's dinner party? I, a 24-year-old man, was invited to my friend's dinner party with about 10 people in total. There is one man, a 22-year-old, whom I have never liked. He is a leech and an overall asshole. He is the younger brother of one of the people in our friend group. The reason why I dislike him is because of how often he asks for money from me, his older brother, and the rest of the group. When I first met him, he called me the next day at 3 a.m. asking me to pick him up from the bar because he was drunk, almost like I was obligated to do so. Another time, I picked him up to grab food for a past dinner party we had. He bought chips and a bunch of other snacks but then stuffed them in his backpack and did not bring them to the get-together. He did not buy anything for the party. He constantly asks the entire friend group for money for his rap, singing career, even though he works part-time for his father cleaning toilets. The list goes on. At the dinner party, he called me out during dinner for being a bum over something we were talking about. I replied that he does not want to start anything with me, to which he started calling out all my flaws and making fun of my current job. My job is corporate but for a small company. I am not really sure why he made fun of it, to be honest. We were drinking beers, so maybe he was drunk. I said this to him and told him to relax, but he kept pressing the matter over nothing. I stood up from my seat and reminded him that he is a loser. I started by saying, "Do you know how much of a loser you are? You leech off your brother and the rest of us. You do absolutely nothing but beg for money for your music career that is not going anywhere, and you work as a toilet cleaner for your father. Shut up." I was really pissed off. For him to try and embarrass me like that in front of everyone just set me off. It got really quiet, and I told him, "Don't ever try and embarrass me in front of a group of people like that, you loser." He ended up just kind of looking down and sitting there. Dinner went back to normal after maybe 15 minutes, and then we all went home. His older brother says he knows his younger brother was out of line, but he said that his brother is aware of his current situation and was most likely just lashing out because of how his life is turning out. He asked me to just talk to him and apologize. I am absolutely willing to talk to him, but I am not apologizing for anything. We can have a civil one-on-one conversation to determine why he thought it was a good idea to try and embarrass me and continue to do so after I told him to stop. If he wants to apologize to me, that is fine. My friend called me heartless and said that I am kicking someone while they are down. The friend group is pretty split. Some say I was being too mean. Others say it was a good reality check for him and that he was also way out of line for absolutely no reason. Am I the asshole? You haven't done anything wrong. You gave him multiple opportunities to shut that down, but he chose not to take them. Just because someone's going through something doesn't give them a blank slate to be a jerk to other people. His brother should not be enabling him and excusing his behavior. Am I the jerk for excluding my partner from my birthday celebration because of what they said? I, a 23-year-old male, just had my birthday this past Sunday. I celebrated by meeting up with my 45-year-old aunt for brunch. My aunt and I share our birthday and have always spent at least part of the day together. It's a tradition that's really important to both of us. A couple of weeks ago, my 23-year-old girlfriend said she wanted to throw me a birthday party since we now have enough fun money to spend on something like that. I said that would be great, but it probably couldn't be on my birthday because I was meeting my aunt for brunch and then had to go into work early the next day, so an evening party would have to end early too. We then had a long discussion that turned into an argument over having a celebration on the actual day or not. It became clear that she wanted me to reschedule brunch, and that was my line. I told her that time with my aunt on our birthday is more important to me than spending it with anyone else. Part of her reason for having it that day was that a few friends would be in town then, but not the following weekend. I told her part of the reason why it matters, which is that my aunt was a twin, and her twin died when they were teenagers. Their birthday was hard for her, and then when I was unexpectedly born on the same day, I was premature. It made the day easier for her to handle. She never put all that on me as a kid, but told me when I was an adult how grateful she was that we were birthday buddies, and that it had felt like a blessing. My aunt is an amazing lady, and I have always loved sharing our birthday. I was even more glad when she told me all of that. When I told this all to my girlfriend though, her first reaction was that it was messed up that your aunt uses you as an emotional crutch, and that you're a grown man who can make his own plans. I think my feelings must have shown on my face because she tried to backtrack or qualify her statement or whatever, but I wasn't having it. I told her that there was no need to throw me a birthday party at all. What I ended up doing was having the brunch as planned with just me and my aunt. My parents had a cookout with a lot of our family there. I didn't invite my girlfriend, and when I explained why, my family was kind of split. They all agreed that what she said wasn't nice or true, but some thought that it also wasn't kind to exclude her from my birthday entirely when it had clearly mattered to her. She and I have hung out both before and after my birthday, and there is a tension there. Part of me wants to address it, but I also don't feel bad about what I did, so I don't know if bringing it up would do much good. Am I the asshole? You are not in the wrong. It's your birthday, so any plans should definitely suit you best. A party on your actual birthday didn't work for you due to pre-established plans, so your girlfriend should have been more flexible and tried to coordinate a better day. She doesn't get to demand that you reschedule your plans just because she wants you to. If you're a grown man who can make his own plans, then why is your girlfriend trying to dictate what you do? Am I the jerk for not agreeing to my stepfather giving me away during my wedding? I, a 27-year-old female, am getting married to my fiancé early next year. My mom married Phil when I was almost 22 years old. I was very supportive of her relationship as Phil is a great guy, and my parents have been divorced for a long time. It was time that she found someone, and I was happy that she wasn't alone anymore. However, I made it very clear that while I would love and respect him as her husband, he will never be my father. He would be more like a relative. Both she and he said they understood. Last year when I got engaged, I made it very clear to her that while he is her husband, he isn't my father and will not be participating in the wedding as my father. He will not be giving me away or participating in any other rituals of the wedding. He can sit with the family, but he will not follow the duties of my father. She wasn't very happy about it, but that was that. Fast forward to today, we have started talking about the guest list and ironing out the details of the wedding. My mom said that according to my culture, I'm not American or Catholic, Phil will have to give me away. I called that nonsense, not in those exact words, because when my mom remarried, my grandma was the only one who gave her away, and that caused no problems. When she realized that this didn't work, she told me that it would be very insulting to Phil if he doesn't get the respect he deserves. I agreed that he would be attending the wedding, but not as my father, as I have always made very clear. She went on to say that I'm not accepting of her relationship and that I'm making a mess of her life, as this will cause a strain on her relationship with Phil. We got into a fight, and she said the best solution is that I get married in City Hall to avoid all this. I replied that I don't want to. She then said she would let Phil know that it's best if he doesn't come to the wedding, and I said that's her call. I would want him to be there, but that's up to her. We ended the call on a bad note and haven't talked since. It's been a few days now. I am very close to my mom since she's done a lot for me as a single mother and I don't want to hurt her. At the same time, I don't think it's fair for her to keep expecting all this from me. While I respect Phil, I don't want him to participate in my wedding like a father. So, am I the asshole? It's not your mother's wedding, and it's certainly not Phil's. Phil is not your father and did not raise you as a father figure. It is your wedding, and you have every right to make decisions that feel right for you. Your mom seems to be forgetting these important points, and it's really weird that she doesn't see the sensitivities around this. Am I the jerk for parking my car in front of someone's house on a public street? I, a 27-year-old man, often stay at my girlfriend Sarah's, a 25-year-old woman, apartment during the weekend. Her apartment does not have guest parking, but it is on a public street with free parking, so that is where I park. The apartment is surrounded by houses both adjacent and across the street, and most of these houses do not have a driveway. One of these houses without a driveway belongs to a neighbor who appears to be in his late 30s or early 40s. None of these homeowners have any legal ownership of spots on the public street. A few months ago, I pulled into an open spot in front of the neighbor's house. I got out of my car and began walking to my girlfriend's apartment when a car coming down the road stopped. The neighbor rolled down his window and nicely asked if I would be willing to move my car somewhere else as it was in front of his house. I was carrying 4 sizable bags of stuff for the weekend. These bags contained clothes, food, a hiking backpack, and a work backpack. There were several inches of snow on the ground. I sighed and begrudgingly obliged. There were no more spots nearby, so I had to drive my car an extra block away. Fast forward to a recent incident. I again parked my car in the same spot. I started walking away from my car but noticed the neighbor and his wife pull up behind me, with his wife making annoyed, "What do you think you are doing?" gestures toward me. The neighbor again asked if I could move my car because that's my house and we have groceries. I was pressed for time as Sarah and I had to leave soon for an event. Beyond that, I did not care that the neighbor and his wife had to walk 5 extra feet carrying groceries. I calmly told the neighbor, "This is the second time you've asked me to move my car. This is a public street, and I have somewhere to be. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm not moving my car." The neighbor just said okay, and we moved on. The next day, I went out to my car and saw some insults written in the dirt on my back windshield, including asshole. Now, I can appreciate writing on people's dirty cars as much as the next person, but I just need to know if I truly am the asshole in this situation. I think you are not in the wrong here. Unfortunately, this world is full of people who feel entitled to the public parking spots near their residences. Sometimes it takes extreme measures to make a point, like buying a $100 car just to park in a spot. It might be worth considering a dash and rear cam for added protection. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.